Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of the CBT podcast. We're on to episode 3. Rod, Ethan, thanks for joining us once again. And I said just one short week ago that we will be back in 1 week time to discuss the upcoming finals matchup of the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. And what do you know? Here we are after a thrilling Game 7 that the Celtics tried their hardest to just throw away. They came away with the victory, and they are playing in the NBA Finals. Ethan, as a fellow Celtics fan, how are you feeling after Game 7?
Thank God. Because, like you said, they tried to throw it. They tried to just give it to the Heat. You know, I was feeling comfortable. I told you guys this. Our viewers wouldn't know, but I told you guys in the morning, Celtics are going to grab a lead like in Game 2, and they're going to walk away with this win. I had to say it enough to believe. Boy, was I wrong, because they got off to an amazing lead, kept it all the way until maybe 6 minutes left in the second, and then blew it to 6. Yeah, 6 at halftime, right? I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 at halftime.
I want to say it was 55 before.
And then from there, it was just an emotional roller coaster of Jimmy Butler doing whatever he wanted. Smart throwing, and it was crazy. But in the end, who prevailed?
The Boston Celtics did.
Top?
Jason Tatum was
Finals.
obviously named the first ever Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which to me is one of the most meaningless awards in all of basketball. But at the end of the day, Jason Tatum won it. So it's awesome regardless. Rod, you are, as I previously mentioned, the biggest Celtic hater that I know. How are you feeling right now, man?
I feel robbed, confused, insulted, bamboozled, the whole lot. The Heat chose to lose this game, and more importantly, this series. Words cannot describe the feeling of watching, Kyle Lowry missed 3 of his first 4 free throws. The Heat shoot 67% from the line as a team, coming off of a game where I don't think they missed a single free throw. They might have missed 1 at the end, but you go from near perfection to 67% from the line. You hold a team to 100 points just to score 96. I can't be more disappointed in my pick to advance to the finals. But congratulations. I must admit, I'm shocked, startled, and surprised that the Celtics made it as far as they have so far.
I think you're not the only one who feels that way, but let's go into the Game 7 a little bit. I want to talk about some specific moments. First of all, to clarify, Ethan, you said the Celtics did start to lose it. The Celtics actually did lead for the entire game. It was yet another wire-to-wire victory, although they were very close to going down 1 with just 15 seconds left or so. They did lead the whole way to win Game 7 on the road, which is impressive enough on its own. Ethan?
Listen, they were up 5, right? I thought, okay, this is in the closing seconds of the game. So I'm thinking, okay, we'll keep this lead. We'll still win. Max Strus hits a crazy 3, just to play with our feelings, cut it to 2. Go down. Marcus Smart, blow it again, missed a layup.
I think
Jimmy
his
Butler
4th miss
grabs
in a
it.
row in the last 2 minutes.
And then arguably one of the most controversial taken shots I've ever seen, which I believe he should have. But Jimmy Butler comes down with the pull-up 3 and misses. Now, props to Jimmy because he was doing whatever he wanted. But he's just not that guy.
Yeah,
Not that guy.
as I saw Al Horford back off of him on that fast break and Jimmy pull up from behind the arc, as the ball was slowly traveling in the air towards the rim, John Wall popped in my head. OG Anunoby popped in my head. LeBron popped in my head. Jimmy Butler popped in my head. All the Celtics heartbreak from the past popped in my head as I see that ball just flying towards the rim. And if that shot would have went in, I think I would have thrown up all over my living room just out of shock and disappointment. But it did not go in. Old man Al Horford, after 141 career playoff games, which had been, well, I guess it still is, the most all time without appearing in a finals game, Big Al Horford is going to appear in a finals game on Thursday.
Well-deserved, too.
Well-deserved for the old man. He's the first Dominican Republic-born player to play in an NBA Finals as well. Ethan, I'm sure you're happy.
Those that
about
don't know,
being
I'm half Dominican, half Honduran. So, love my man.
But Rod, I want to ask you this. There was obviously a very controversial play, I think in the third quarter. Max Strus hit a 3 from the corner, but it was later ruled out because he stepped out of bounds. Rod, do you think he did in fact step out of bounds?
If you look very closely at the picture, you can in fact see the shadow of his heel on the line. So, I mean, if you want to say Adam Silver came out of the Bat Cave or wherever he was to overturn it in favor of the Celtics, I have never in my life, I have seen them change 3s to 2s. Never have I seen in a game 7 on a shot that wasn't even clear by this much of a margin either way, which undoubtedly ended up deciding the game in that close of a game. A 3-point difference like that. A ridiculously horrible call there, which won the Celtics the game, in my opinion.
Just like you talk about a controversial thing, one could also say that Jimmy Butler, towards the end of the game when he laid it up and literally pushed off,
his left arm was fully extended.
to lay it up, one could say that was an offensive call. So we all know that the refs sucked these past 2 games.
Hey, Scott Foster had his moment to shine on the national stage, and boy, did he cherish that moment. Because look at it, we're talking about him, and it's been 24 hours since the game, and we're still here talking about Scott and his crew.
So one could, that Max Strus 3, I agree with you. I don't think he was out. As a Celtics fan, I think he was in. But they must have some type of angle that they're not showing us for them to have to review it. Wait 3 minutes in order for them to call it 2.
Was that in the game where they actually stopped to review it, or was that the outside?
They didn't stop. It was in
the review center and where so that's the issue for me, is that even if it was like clearly he was out of bounds, the fact that they had an outside source come in to overturn something like that in the game, that would put me off. But on something it's not even clear he was out of bounds, if he was at all. I don't think he was. But to still come in and intervene in a game like that is unheard of, and I think it sets a bad precedent.
No, I actually kind of like that they have an outside source reviewing all the shots, like in any game. I kind of like that. Like I said, I think they must have an angle that we don't see for them to be calling that out. Because like I said, in all the videos I've seen, I think he's still in bounds for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I did see
that it's a travel.
I did see one angle on Twitter earlier from the side, like near midcourt on the opposite side of the floor. And it did look like his foot was like flat on the ground. So it looked like at least the right side of his left foot was on the ground. But in that picture, it wasn't entirely clear where the out of bounds line was because it was so far away. So I agree, even though I'm a Celtics fan, as much as I'm happy those 3 points came off the board, I don't think they should, because in those situations, you have to go with what was called on the floor, because there just was not enough to overturn it.
Yeah.
Well, it don't matter because Celtics finals. So at the end of the day,
are in the finals. And I want to talk about someone who is not in the finals, and that is Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry finished this year's playoffs shooting 29% from the field. Yes, you heard that right. 29, as in below 30%, as in an absolute atrocious playoff run. Rod, you're out here standing on your soapbox every day of the week. Kyle Lowry's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. What happened to Mr. Lowry?
We must have been watching two different playoffs, because what I saw was heart, determination, guts, and a
flops.
combination of the three in game 6 with their backs against the wall. Who was it? Who stepped up out of the blue on a shorthanded Heat squad to lead the team to victory?
Kyle Lowry led the Heat in game 6.
Was it Bam Adebayo? Was it PJ Tucker? No.
This
It was
man
one
right
man.
here.
One
And
man.
one man only.
I can't even see it because of your phone. It was Kyle Lowry.
Yes, Jimmy Butler did not put up one of the best playoff performances of all time.
On the backs of the effort and grit. Yep, that man right there.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
On the backs of that man, the Heat managed by the skin of their teeth to pull off game 6 off an 18-10 performance from Lowry. Vintage Lowry.
A game where Jimmy Butler also had 47 points on the road.
Not the point. Game 7. Lowry looked like he belonged in a retirement home. I'll admit. But still, their third best player, which says a lot, not a good lot, but still 15, 7, 3, 2 steals, a block.
And a defensive liability on top of it.
Well, that's not his fault. He didn't offer himself $30 million a year. He just accepted. But
oh my gosh,
this is a problem with a grander Heat problem than more than just a Kyle Lowry problem. May I point out, he was incredibly injured. Not only this playoffs, but the whole regular season. He missed the first 2 games of this series. And he definitely wasn't healthy. He wasn't conditioned, obviously. He looked like he was 260 pounds out there. But
60. That's generous.
No, but
that's generous.
Still. I am proud of what I saw in game 6 from Kyle Lowry.
Only game 6? Was it game 5 that he had 1 rebound and 5 fouls?
It was game 3 where he led the it was game 3 where he led the team once Jimmy went down to a road win against the Celtics. The problem was when he was at home. At Boston, he was very good. In Miami, he didn't belong on the court. But that's besides the point. Lowry overall battled through, had a good playoffs.
So to use this as a segue, you said Kyle Lowry is the Heat's third best player. Their second best player is supposed to be Bam Adebayo. And Bam was very hot or cold in this series. He had a good game 3 and a good game 7. But do you think this playoffs and this series in general has proven to us that Bam Adebayo is not good enough to be the second best player on a championship team?
You can go first, Ethan.
I think so.
He is good enough?
No. Okay. Sorry, my bad. I don't think that he's good enough to be the second best player. I think he's your third option, and you need that one other star. You need that one other key piece that can create their own shot. Because at the end of the day, as good of a scorer that Jimmy is, you need another one.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And I truly think if he gets healthy, Victor Oladipo is their answer. Because Victor at times looked great and other times looked really bad. He also came in late in the season. So I think that the Heat are going in the right directions in terms of that, that second option, which I think could be Victor. But Bam, boy, if someone's taller than him, he just doesn't do anything. Robert Williams, a man that's on half a knee at this point, he just has to stand there basically, and Bam is just shaking in his boots. He's just shaking in the paint. He doesn't know what to do. So I don't know. I think that I'm not saying trade Bam by all means, because Bam is still a great player.
Also, he's a borderline all-star every season.
Yeah, still a great player, but he still has some room to improve. But his ceiling is a third best player on a team, on a championship team. You need that other piece.
I have to agree. I mean, we saw at times Game 3, Game 7, where he can take over.
Rob
But
wasn't there. Yeah.
Yep. But still, that's 2 out of a 7-game series. And the games that weren't 3 or 7 were very, very ugly. Game 6 comes to mind. He put up 6 points. And his offense, he is one of the top defensive players in the league, obviously. I think he's a DPOY candidate when he's fully healthy. But you have to contribute something outside of the restricted area nowadays if you want to be an effective center. I don't know how many of those free throw line jump shots he took this series, but he didn't make many. Obviously, he's not a 3-point shooter. He can't post up anybody. I think he did post up Derek White one possession I saw, and
it's Derek White though. He should be
exactly.
Derek White.
That's one play a series. He's just and how much better has he gotten from 2 years ago in the playoffs, where they made that run in the bubble? I don't see much of a difference. So yeah, like Ethan said, I don't think they should trade him, but I also don't think. Obviously, they thought Lowry was going to be a good second option when they brought him in, based off what you saw his last year in Toronto. Obviously, all those pick and rolls that he did with Bam, he would have been shooting a lot more off those, a lot more points in the mid-range. He just doesn't have that anymore. Tyler Hero being gone was huge. He effectively wasn't there in Game 7. He was completely useless. But games 5 and 6, he was out. 20 points in the regular season. He should be that second option. And then, like Ethan said, Victor Oladipo, I think the Heat will be back overall. Maybe not next year, but I think their future is solid. But as far as Bam being that second option when they get back, I don't see it.
I definitely agree with both of you. Bam Adebayo just doesn't provide enough offensively to be the number 2 guy on a championship team. I think where the Heat are running into problems, especially with Lowry's shortcomings in this playoffs, they were looking for Bam to be like a Kevin Garnett to Jimmy's Paul Pierce, like someone who can take over the game and really hold down the paint and get a bucket when the team needs it. But they need him to be more like the Chris Bosh to a LeBron and a Dwayne Wade. Like, they're obviously not going to get LeBron. He's once in a generation player, but they need Bam Adebayo to play that Chris Bosh role, someone who gets the offensive rebounds, finds the open man, and just makes the right basketball play at the right time, and they don't have to rely on his offensive output, but if it happens, then that's great. In terms of Victor Oladipo, he is a free agent in this offseason, correct?
Yes.
Do we think he is going to stay in Miami?
I don't think this season overall was enough for another team to come in and say, okay, we'll give you a chance in our starting lineup. But I do like what I saw. We have to take into account he only played the last 2 weeks of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
How often have we ever seen a guy basically miss the entire regular season and play? Well, how much did he play? Oh, he played 32 minutes in a Game 7 that same season. So that short amount of time was already enough for him to get in shape physically. Obviously, he's not what we remember from Indiana. He didn't have that much time to get ready. But I do think, obviously, they don't have any cap space. But if they were to offer him, what's it called? The MLE mid-level.
The mid-level exception.
It would be more than he's making right now, I believe. So I think they should bring him back. And who knows, with the full offseason healthy, he could look a lot better than he look now.
I think as much as Miami is going to want to bring him back, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, one of them lottery. I wouldn't be surprised if Sacramento threw like a 1-year, $10 million offer at him. Just a team that's in between first overall pick lottery odds and the playoffs, somewhere in between that, in that kind of that death of a no man's zone if you're an NBA franchise, I would not be surprised to see a team throw a 1 or a 2 year deal at him, which is more money than Miami can offer. But then you have to wonder if Oladipo is going to prioritize winning or money at this point in his career. And I do think he would lean winning. I think Oladipo is a guy who wants to win. He's not just there to play basketball. He's there to win at basketball. And I expect him to re-sign with Miami.
So let me talk about Miami just for a second. All right. So weren't they the number 1 3-point shooting team in during the regular season?
Yes, percentage wise.
I'm pretty sure. Here's the thing about Miami. At times they are lights out with shooting, which we can see game 6 whenever everyone was hitting, or for the most part. But then also at times you have just major issues. And I think some of it has to do with their roster. Listen, Max Strus and Gabe Vincent are 2 undrafted players. I'm pretty sure. I know Max Strus is for
They are
sure.
both undrafted.
Yes.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent. In a league where you have, not a league, but let's say team, right? Celtics. You got 2. Basically, Jason Tatum was the number 1 overall pick, if you want to consider highway robbery for a second. and then the 3rd overall pick in Jaylen Brown. You had Marcus Smart in the lottery. You had a lot of high lottery players that when you see someone undrafted, there is a break of talent between that.
Oh yeah.
And you can see the Celtics really trying to hunt those matchups. Every single time Max Strus was on Jason Tatum, it was just backing him down, making him work for it. And then you also have to look at Duncan.
Can we save Duncan? I want to save Duncan. I have a lot to say about Mr. Robinson.
The Heat are where they are because they have heart, and they will make you commit certain things that'll lose you a basketball game. And we saw that with all the turnovers. They play the right way, but they just don't have the key components in order to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You saw the same thing in the bubble. They had that heart during the bubble, and they played amazing. But when they came up to LeBron and Anthony Davis, they just couldn't. They couldn't break that ice. So I think the Heat are still need more pieces in order for them to be championship, even contenders, compared to what's coming out of the East with the Bucks, the Nets once they're better, the Celtics now. So it's and 76ers, whatever James does. So yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think Miami, one of the most things that's talked about surrounding their franchise is their culture. As much as I love to make fun of it, it does drive the gritty, heart type players like a PJ Tucker and just guys along those lines who are willing to do anything to win. They want the underdogs. They want to have that underdog mentality because I think they feel like it's gonna be a motivational factor for the guys. And obviously you shouldn't need more motivation than a championship, but in some ways, I almost feel like their culture of being underdogs is holding them back a little bit because, like you said, at the end of the day, there is a disparity in the talent level between a lottery pick and an undrafted guys. And if they're seeking out those undrafted guys who have something to prove they're not going to do it to stay in line with their culture. But if they keep building in the same way, I wouldn't be surprised if we just see the same cycle of just lack of talent late in the playoffs over and over again. Sure, it gets them by in the regular season. They were the 1 seed. They obviously were good this regular season. But at the end of the day, the talent is what you need to win a championship. I'm looking at teams like the Celtics and the Warriors, the 2 final participants. Those are obviously, 2 of the 3 or 4 most talented teams in basketball. I think you have to say Golden State's number 1, Boston's top 3, top 4 at least. And I think Miami needs to get more talent. It's as simple as that. I mean, Gabe Vincent and Strus, they were great this year, but maybe it's a lack of experience. They just weren't there in the big moments. Yeah. Any other comments about the Game 7? We haven't talked about the Celtics players much. Besides, we made fun of Smart a little bit. Is there anyone we wanted to talk about on Boston?
I would like to say that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown heard all the noise coming at them when it came to the turnovers. Jaylen Brown, I don't think had a turnover in the first, and then in the first half, and then Jason Tatum had only had 2 turnovers for the game. So props to them for making sure that the ball was not given to the Heat like they were doing, because boy were the Heat just taking their lunch money and running off with it. So major props to them for executing exactly what you needed to do to win for the most part.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, the Celtics only had 13 turnovers, game 7. And when you have an offense like the Heat, whereas, lackluster at best in the half court, the only way they're going to get going is off the Celtics turnovers. And in a game like this, so close, decided by 4 points, those 13 turnovers that they limited it to, that's what won the Celtics the game.
Yeah, prior to the game, I texted both you guys, limit the turnovers and go to the finals. It's as simple as that. And the Celtics did that. And what do you know? They're going to the finals. But before we move on to talking about that matchup, one player who does 100% need to be mentioned throughout games 5, 6, and 7 is Derek White. Derek White stepped up in the biggest way for the Celtics. He came out there off the bench, provided, 22 in game 6. I think he exploded for like 15 points in 8 minutes. He made me feel like we were going to win that game 6, which we had been down the entire time. He obviously played well in game 5 as well. In game 7, he gave us the valuable minutes we needed. He hit a corner 3 early in the game that really set the tone for the team. So Derek White, he struggled throughout the playoffs. Celtics fans love to make fun of him, but at the end of the day, he's a winning player who makes winning plays. Duncan Robinson, on the other hand, Duncan Robinson is the biggest waste of $90 million in the NBA. I would go out and say that the Duncan Robinson contract is worse than the Timofey Mozgov contract with Los Angeles years back. How are you paying a guy $90 million and he doesn't see the floor in a do or die game 7? I just feel like that's inexcusable for Miami. Over the next however many years, they owe Kyle Lowry another $60 million and Duncan Robinson, another $70 million or so?
Yeah, 75.
The Heat's contract situations are not looking good down the road. But that's a whole nother can of worms that I don't want to get into right now because there's far too much to talk about. What I do want to talk about is the upcoming matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors starting Thursday. So to me, I think the biggest narrative for the finals has to be the matchup of the Warriors offense versus the Celtics league best defense. It's going to be a chess match. It's going to be fun to see. But sometimes when you're watching the Warriors, it feels like no matter what defense is being thrown at them, if they're hitting their shots, their offense just simply can't be stopped. I mean, Steph, Clay, Poole, Wiggins, just to name a few. That's not even listing all their offensive threats. The matchups you would think would be good for Boston. But, Rod, do you think even if Boston plays stellar defense, will they be able to stop Golden State?
No, and I think it's very interesting because it's a complete polar opposite to what we just saw. A team in Miami who rolled out 3 starters when Kyle Lowry was hurt, who were undrafted, and gave Vincent, Max Strus, and PJ Tucker, compared to a Warriors team who will be rolling out 3 Hall of Famers. And this is not a situation at all like the Heat, because if the Celtics limited their turnovers and they didn't let Jimmy Butler drop 40, they had a almost perfect chance to win. They could hold Steph to below 20 points. They could hold Clay to below 15 points. But like you said, the Warriors have so many threats. A bad game for the Warriors offense may still be 110, 115 points in total. So it's a whole new level than what the Celtics just saw in Miami.
Now, I do think the Celtics will hold Golden State to under 105 in at least one of the games. I wanted to say 100, but I'm not feeling that confident. Ethan, how are you feeling about the chances of Boston's defense?
I think that we're going to be able to pull it off. I think that if we just have Marcus Smart basically glued to Steph, I think for the most part it'll help. I mean, because nobody's really worried about Looney. Then Draymond, I mean, we're gonna dare him. Yes, we're not
I'm
scared.
not worried about
Actually,
Looney.
very afraid. Very
All
afraid.
right, to interject, I feel like the only reason that Looney had such success against Dallas was because who was their
Don't have a
biggest player?
center.
Was Luka their biggest player in down the stretch in clutch time
Maxi
last game?
Kleber.
Maxi Kleber wasn't
Come
playing in
on,
the fourth
man.
quarter.
Don't
against-
disrespect Maxi.
So
well, Jason
Looney-
Kidd does.
No.
Don't get me wrong, Looney had a great series for the kind of player he is, but at the end of the day, you have Robert Williams in the paint, and if Bam Adebayo was afraid to do something against him, you're gonna bet that he's gonna be afraid against Robert Williams.
Not only
Another-
Rob Williams, but also old man Al Horford.
Exactly, and like we're gonna give Al the
David
Ben
Pike.
Simmons, not Al, sorry. We're gonna give Draymond Green the Ben Simmons treatment on the three, so we can let him shoot all he wants. We basically just have to worry about running around screens and switching, which the Celtics have been one of the best teams at their switching defense. So I think that we'll be able to pull it off. I think the matchups of Marcus Smart on Curry, Jaylen Brown on either Clay or Wiggins, and then vice versa with JT. Have him on one or the other. I think we'll be fine. And then with Poole, we'll basically just pray that Derek White can stay close to him. So yeah, I think we'll be fine.
I'm foreseeing a very interesting bench battle between Jordan Poole and Derek White. Not that they'll be dueling each other, but seeing how well Derek White can keep Jordan Poole from getting on the scoreboard at a high level. So it's that time. I think everyone needs to make a prediction. Rod, we'll start with you. Who's going to win the finals and in how many games?
I think it's been a Cinderella run so far for the Celtics. I think every one of the series so far, they have been the underdogs. They've had to scratch and claw, and they've made it farther than any of us thought, especially early in the season when they had a losing record. However, this is not the Steve Nash-led Nets. This is not the Chris Middleton-less Bucks. This is not the Duncan Robinson Heat.
I wish Duncan Robinson was on the Warriors.
This is the Warriors dynasty in full effect. This is where the run gets stopped, stomped, crushed. I have the Warriors in 5 games.
Now, Rod, let me reach you out some stats real quick and tell me
Mhm.
what you think about this. All right.
Mhm.
Last time the Celtics and the Warriors played, okay,
Mhm.
Jason Tatum shot 6 for 16. Jaylen Brown shot 9 for 21. Derek White went 0 for 8. How many points do you think, all combined, how many points do you think the Celtics had with those stats I just read out to you?
117.
I'd say, I'd probably say around 100 with those stats you spread out.
The ending score was 110 to 88 in favor of the Celtics.
110?
To 88. And this is with a Jordan Poole 29-point game. And Clay got 18. So this is down the stretch, this is what the Warriors were doing. And so you think that the Warriors are going to win in 5?
Yes,
Against
and let me
this
tell you
team.
why. Let me read out a couple scores. What do you think the Celtics, besides obviously the 127 they put up in game 2 where they did not miss a single shot, it felt like the whole game. what do you think was their second highest point scored against a very good Heat defense?
108.
108. It was 107 in game one was their second highest. Do you know what the Warriors' lowest was against the Mavericks?
What was that? 107?
109.
Mm.
Well, we are talking
just-
about two
You
very
just compared
different
the
Two very
Mavericks
different teams.
defense.
Two very
to the
different
Heat
teams.
defense.
Yes.
No,
But do you know who the
defenses.
second best defense in the regular season one was behind the Celtics?
Sure, it was Dallas, but Golden State's matched
No.
up.
It was the Warriors were the second best defense in the regular season. So we're talking about a defense that is better than the Heat, which really contained the Celtics outside of game two against a Warrior, and as well as a Warriors offense, who is, in my opinion, the best in the league. So I do not think this is a normal case of best offense versus best defense. I think it's best offense, second best defense against middle of the pack offense, best defense.
See,
Okay.
whoa, I got
No,
you just
no.
compared the way the Warriors are playing the rest of the league on defense to how they're going to play the Celtics. The Warriors, as I'm sure we're all well familiar with, they love to play small ball. They love that lineup with Draymond at the 5. I doubt they run that all that much. But Boston, I feel like the way they're built, especially offensively, Miami did well because they counteracted size with size, like wide size, not tall size, but wide size, like Lowry, PJ. Yeah, people along that lines. I don't think Golden State has any of those wide boys. They've got the lengthy boys, but they don't have the wide boys. I think they were built perfectly to play Dallas, right? Dallas, they love small ball, and Golden State just happens to have probably the best small ball lineup of all time. I don't think Golden State's defense is going to have the same success that they did against Dallas that they will against Boston. I think Miami, obviously we all know, big problem with the Celtics is the turnovers. And Miami, I think, is much better at being active in lanes, forcing steals than pick six steals than Golden State is. So I think Miami's defense was built better to play the Celtics and Golden State's defense. I expect the Celtics to have better offensive output in this series than they did in the last one.
So you talking about the Warriors having the second ranked defense during the regular season, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what was their offense?
I don't know what it was in the regular season, but they're the best offense in the league, in my opinion.
So this is all regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The number one rated defense during the regular season held the Golden State Warriors to 88 points.
The last time they played.
And the Warriors held the Celtics to 110 points.
That's one game, though.
Yeah, you can't look at it.
I know, but that is one game. You guys are 100% correct.
Oh,
but what I'm saying is that it's possible the Celtics have a legit chance if they play defense the right way and we have a non-injured Marcus Smart and Robert Williams.
They'll take a game.
So what's your prediction for the series?
I think it's the Celtics in 6. In 6, yes.
Now, even though I am arguably the world's biggest Celtics fan, the last time they played in that game you're talking about, where it was 88 to 110,
we don't talk about that. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
I don't know if you remember, but Marcus Smart quite literally injured Stephen Curry about halfway through that game. So they were playing without arguably the best point guard of all time.
And
the
their
second half of
defensive liability. Yes, they were playing without those two people. Yes.
Well, then they bring on Jordan Poole, who is a defensive liability. I think Marcus Smart, they're going to try and put him on Steph, but let's be real. He's not sticking with Steph. They're going to struggle to contain almost everyone on the Warriors offense. The Warriors offense is too good for the Celtics defense. The Warriors have 6 years of finals experience, right? This is their 6th year being in the finals in the last 8 years. They have 3 Hall of Famers. They have a Hall of Fame coach, one of the best coaches ever in Steve Kerr, and they're playing against a young Celtics team who have not one player on their roster who has ever appeared in a finals game, which is sad and scary, and a rookie head coach on top of that. So, I mean, when you lay it all out, it's pretty simple. I got the Celtics in 7. They're pulling it off. This is the year. Banner 18 is coming to TD Garden. Jason Tatum will be Finals MVP. My bold prediction for the series, he has at least one 45-point game. If not 45, then 50 or more.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly. It's the Celtics all the way, baby. Celtics are winning this.
This is finally the year. Finally the year it happens.
Listen, you can hate all you want. As a Celtics fan, the season looked promising when it first started. As it continued, when it first started, I'm talking about game 1 opener.
Oh.
We lost
talking
in
about
double
game-
OT to the Knicks.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about game 1 before, up to the season opener. It looked promising,
Oh,
and from
okay.
there to
Preseason.
December 25th, I think when we played the Suns. Did we play on Christmas?
No, we played the Bucks on Christmas and blew a double-digit fourth quarter lead.
So it's after Christmas. After Christmas, we don't talk about the first half of the season, pretty much.
What
After
half of the
that-
season?
Yeah, yeah. We
The dark ages.
listen. The Celtics, I feel like at this point, as much as we've been hyping them up, they're playing with house money because they really shouldn't be here. If you were to tell me back in November that the Celtics were going to be in the NBA Finals,
Oh,
I think
what's
I
up?
would've fallen
Are you
on my-
smoking?
yeah.
I would have fallen to my knees and started crying.
Exactly. So at this point, the Celtics, yes, finally they broke the barrier of the Eastern Conference Finals curse, but we're just too hungry, man. We want it. The Warriors have been there, so yeah, they have that experience for sure. But there's also a certain level of being comfortable. The Celtics want it, and Jason Tatum, I think, is going to be as well as he played in the Bucks series. He's gonna assert himself as the best player on the Celtics, grab that Finals MVP, and win in 6, man.
Top 5 Tatum will make an appearance in this year's finals.
I hope.
But just to reflect on a little bit of the Celtics season before things get really stressful, this is 2 of the greatest seasons for the team. It is one of, if not the greatest turnaround mid-season. You could give it to the Rockets, the Drexler trade. Wasn't it the Rockets?
Yes.
Yeah. The Drexler trade in the 90s, they weren't even in the playoffs when they made the trade, ended up winning the finals. This year for the Celtics, I don't know if you remember, but they were up 25 on the Knicks, I think it was, in late December. That lead evaporated and that game was ended on an RJ Barrett fading three-pointer
Off the
banked
back,
in
yeah.
off glass. I think that dropped the Celtics record to 18-21, if I am not mistaken. That was rock bottom for this year. But boy, you know that SpongeBob episode where they drive straight up the cliff to get out of rock bottom? That is exactly what the Boston Celtics did over the past 5 months. The turnaround has been phenomenal. They don't even look like the same team that they were at the beginning of the year. So that's one of the greatest turnarounds of all time. But there's also one man that I have to give a ton of credit, who I previously was not a large fan of. Ime Udoka has had one of the best rookie head coaching seasons ever. He won 2 Game 7s as a rookie head coach against the genius mind of Mike Budenholzer.
Oh, the genius.
AKA Giannis Antetokounmpo. But beating Eric Spoelstra on the road in a Game 7 is, I mean, sure, he had the more talent than Spoelstra, but that's not easy to do. Spoelstra had never lost a Game 7 at home before yesterday. And just in general, it's just one of the most improbable finals runs of all time. First, they swept KD. He was in federal jail. They were down in the Bucks series 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2. Teams up 3-2 in a best-of-5 series go on to win 82% of the time. Celtics, they were part of the 18%. Teams that play a Game 7 at home win that about 77% of the time. Celtics, part of that 23%. They have fought through adversity. when everyone doubts them, even some of us, even when some of us doubt them, they just go out there and they win basketball games. And they're getting all over social media. Warriors in 4, Warriors in 5, Warriors in 6. They're getting that hate once more. And I think this group's hungry, right? The Warriors, they've been here before. They've done this. They've won it 3 times. I think the Celtics group is just hungrier than them. If you tell me that Al Horford isn't going to go out there and leave every ounce of effort that he has in his old brittle bones on the court, then he might struggle against Golden State, but he's going to leave it all out there. And I really hope he plays well. And it's just, as a Celtics fan, this has been my favorite season. I'm only 19, so I don't really remember the 08 team all that much. So this has been my favorite season as a Celtics fan. So even if they do, like you predicted, go out in 5 games, Rod, I'm walking away this year with a smile on my face. They've finally gotten over the hump of the Eastern Conference Finals, broke a 5-game losing streak of games that if they would have won, they would have advanced to the finals. And at the end of the day, we're gonna turn on the TV. There's gonna be NBA Finals games on, and the Boston Celtics are going to be playing in those games. I don't know what much more you can ask for as a fan, aside from, of course, a championship. Rod, you obviously are in shambles, being a big Celtics hater. Me and Ethan are feeling great about the team, the franchise. All other fans should feel the exact same way. There's nothing you can complain about as a Celtics fan right now. It's as simple as that. So, any closing thoughts from either of you?
Rod,
Go first. I just hope you guys don't get too drunk on your own delusion. The Cinderella story ends now as in Thursday. They might even take game 1. I won't even say that, but don't get too high, because the closer they get, the more it will hurt when they lose.
Oh, just to get a little more precise with my prediction, the Celtics will be down 3-2 in the series and then win the last 2 games. So that's
I don't know about how that's gonna work in terms of like who wins what games. I think the Celtics for sure steal one in the first 2 games in Golden State. But listen, Roddy, you saying that we're gonna get a heartbreak. Man, there's nothing that can break my heart. We're in the finals, man.
We're in the finals.
I can say that I can watch the NBA finals and the Celtics are there. So you can't take us down.
I mean,
we could lose.
It's a foreign feeling, right? The feeling of them playing in the finals is foreign, but that feeling of losing is not foreign to us at all.
No, it's not.
By this point, I've adjusted to it. I don't try and get my hopes up too high anymore.
We adjusted and
it
still hurts.
Still hurts. But in the finals, you would think it would hurt even more. But with as young as this team is, and I know you can bring up the Oklahoma City Thunder, they obviously made a finals with a young team and never returned. Now they're waiting for the 2028 draft. You just have, like I said, you have to feel good about it. Making the finals, there is no shame in losing to a Golden State Warriors team. I mean, they are one of the 2 best, one of the 3 best dynasties of all time, up there with the 60s Celtics and 90s Bulls. They've got the experience, they've got the coaching, but the Celtics have the heart. Ethan, anything from you before we wrap up?
No, I already said Celtics in 6. I mean, there's not much more to say. I think Celtics are going to be able to just, like I said, they're just hungrier. Celtics want this badly. All those stingers after all these years of just disappointment. When we had Gordon Hayward, Kyrie, Marcus Morris off the bench, like it's just crazy. And then now that we're here, and all it took was Danny Ainge to retire, Brad Stevens to get fired, but bumped up somehow, however that works.
And bring in some guy from Brooklyn.
And then bring in some guy from Brooklyn that little did we know was like a shiny turd in that horrible, horrible franchise. But whew.
Jason Tatum, 4-1 in Game 7s now. It's going to be 5-1 after these finals. Thank you for once again watching the episode. gonna once again, please
Leave a like.
please hit the like button and
And
subscribe.
share with your friends.
Share with
promote
your
us.
friends. Leave a
Yeah.
comment. We will be replying to comments if we do eventually get some.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you. Thank you for listening and watching. And we will see you on Friday for a special episode after game 1. Take it easy, fellas.